So, I'd like to talk a little bit about the loneliness of games. And I don't just mean video games, but that does play a big role. But during 2020, Critical Role took off. Also, OTV, Offline TV, and Friends took off. And we watched them play Among Us. We watched them play Rust together. We watched Critical Role Campaign 2. We watched Jester's amazing cupcake moment. And we started to want to play these games. We wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. We wanted to play tabletop role playing games. We wanted to roll dice with friends. We wanted to play video games. We wanted to play Among Us and Fall Guys and Rust and build imaginary worlds with our friends. The only problem is, for most of us, we didn't have any friends. Or maybe I just don't have any friends. And so games became a source of loneliness for me. For a long time, I usually wanted to play story games. So before 2020, before the pandemic, before lockdown, I loved playing story games like Witcher 3 and exploration games like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I loved getting lost in those worlds and learning about those characters and feeling like they were my friends. It's the same reason that I love reading books, or used to love reading books, fiction books anyway. And after seeing all these friends online, especially OTV, and not just OTV, but Critical Role too, like seeing these friends and seeing how much they love each other and care about each other, it just made me feel this want for something that wasn't for games, it was for friends. And so I felt so lonely in games because for a long time I tried to make friends playing multiplayer games. I joined Discord communities with the goal of playing a specific game. I would join Among Us communities or Rust or others, and I'd try to make friends playing video games with people. And I'd try joining Dungeons and Dragons and West Marches, and I tried my best, but something just didn't click. Something just wasn't connecting. And I think it's because a lot of us were there because we saw these beautiful, brilliant, amazing, natural friendships. And we were trying to force something that didn't exist. So, video games and tabletop role playing games are still a source of loneliness for me a lot of the time. But I'm getting better at building online communities and making friends. It's really hard to make friends in person. I don't know what it is about the pandemic that changed that for me. I didn't used to have a huge problem with it, but now I do. And I think I understand what introverts feel like. I used to be very extroverted and now I'm very shy, socially awkward, introverted. I'm a gamer nerd, I guess. Maybe I've always been that way, but it didn't have a chance to really prevent me from living my life the way that I wanted to because I already had friends for book clubs and things like that, but friends nonetheless, friends from school. Anyway, games can be inherently lonely, especially multiplayer games, if you don't have anyone to play them with. And even in the player's handbook for Dungeons and Dragons, in the 2014 edition, it says you only need two things, imagination. And I read that and I was like, I've got imagination in spades. Let's go. The second thing you need is friends. Oh no. I thought this is where it stops. I don't have friends to play with. So, as Catherine Valente in a book that I read by her said, be my friend and love me, for the world is terrible lonely, and I am sad.